Just put that in halfway through. Yep.
And I 100% lost where that video is. Here it is.
There you go.
Welcome back to Packernet. JJ Leahy and Jake Shavink tonight. Ryan is playing hooky. He says that he doesn't feel well. You can surmise what that means. Jake, you are not in your normal recording spot right now. Nope. Tell us where you are, because I'm so freaking jealous, and I wish I was there too.
Well, I think you're jealous of where I'm during the day. Maybe not so right now at night, perhaps.
It's the hotbed of culture.
Yeah, well, it's a hotbed, that's for sure. We're at where the draft starts in Mobile, down here for Senior Bowl week. Had a lovely first day of practice. Got sunburnt in the 60-degree weather. It's going to be a tradition now, apparently, that too, because it happened last year. But yeah, it's exciting to be down here and probably watch at least one or two future Packers be played down here and practicing. So excited.
Super cool. I know you're going to give us a ton of Senior Bowl insider info, talk about all the future Packers that you are seeing there. We do have 2 whole people in the chat already. Of course, we got our guy Tyler Dershel, always hanging out. Tyler Dershel is challenging my manliness already. I don't know how I feel about that. We're going to be talking some Packers defensive coordinators as well, if that sounds like fun to you, Jake. Sure. Hey, we got Goose in the house.
There we
go.
This will
be fun.
There we go.
Now, there may be some technical user error problems throughout tonight's stream, because normally Ryan is the guy driving this, and I've never used this platform before that we're live streaming from. So I'm learning on the job, flying by the seat of my pants.
Wait till you have to share a screen.
Is that really hard on here?
No, it takes a few seconds if you're not used to it, because there's like different options when you present. So that's always fun the first time doing that.
My hope
is maybe we won't get there. Maybe we won't get there. So
my hope is that at some point we, probably with the help of our audience, especially this very attractive audience member right here, who happens to have the same last name as me, we'll come up with an excuse to whip out Photoshop later, because I had a blast making that the cowbell cheese grater, whatever we decided to call it.
What a stream that was.
Dude, that was a blast. So much fun. Goose is not happy with Mrs. Leahy.
Goose.
Well, Jake, do you have some Senior Bowl stuff that you're just dying to share, or do you want to hop into some defensive coordinator stuff first?
Ryan already made the decision. He made the executive decision.
All right. Jake, tell us about the single most exciting Packers prospect you've seen so far at the Senior Bowl.
I don't want to do the easy answer, but I feel like I have to. I was just talking about, but Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo is that dude. He is that dude at corner. Many were worried about maybe not being able to handle things in man coverage. Did that fine today. Erase dudes in 1v1s where it's hard to win as a corner because you have an entire field to run wherever you want as a receiver, do a 5-second route, do 3 different double moves without it's nonsense a little bit, but we break it down anyway. But like Quinyon was excellent. He had like 3 PBUs in the team stuff, rather, and not to mention even the 1v1s where I say he did phenomenal. It felt like a day where a lot of guys who was just like, yep, you solidified round 1, shut it down. Like he could easily just shut it down for the week, and he's going round 1. But I feel like he's going to come out and compete tomorrow and Thursday, which is exciting. Like he is right now quintessentially. If you're feeling down about like Cooper DeJean probably not making it to 25, this is your next guy to move on to, and then be heartbroken when he's not there at 25. So might as well just enter this phase a little bit and enjoy the Quinyon Mitchell phase at 25. Personally,
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this before I unveil my plan for getting Cooper DeJean to Green Bay. Tell me this: can you recall on a per pound or per inch basis a stronger defensive back than Quinyon Mitchell?
A stronger one? That's a great question. I mean, Cooper's pretty strong, I will say. I mean, he's got the frame, but man, that's tough. Because it's just there's so many like savvy coverage players, and there really aren't guys who.
Because he's like he's all muscle and he's mean and he's like my height.
The name isn't coming to me. I mean, J.C. Horn was like that in college for sure. It hasn't obviously translated to the NFL at all, but he was definitely that kind of player who was just kind of in your face all the time. Loved playing press man, but like there's really not much else to say about Quinyon coming in here and just basically saying like this is my show. Enjoy being a secondary character this week.
Here's my plan for getting Cooper DeJean to Green Bay. We're gonna spread this photo.
And just say it's him.
We're gonna put a Toledo jersey on there.
Okay.
And maybe a little. Okay. Maybe he can have a bling that's like a Q.
There you go. He needs to have like there needs to be like a poster in the background that says "I support Brian Ferentz," and then you're fully in. Then there will be no doubt.
I got my guys mixed up halfway through. I started talking about Quinyon Mitchell, but yeah, it was my Cooper DeJean plan.
Yeah. No, I figured it was just a nice little transition, Jay. So I'm just gonna go
both of them. We're gonna do it twice. We're gonna Photoshop. One is Cooper DeJean, and one. Ryan says Cooper's looking pretty tan.
Ryan,
shut up, Ryan.
That's funny. That's really good.
Here we go. I skipped Tyler. Jake, I was not a big fan of Kalen King. The games I saw him in, did he show out today?
No, it looked like more of the same from the 2023 season. It hasn't been the gear he found in 22. He had a couple good reps today in the 1v1s, but everybody's going to kind of remember like end of practice for King and the national team was kind of like offensive player call to defense. They were like offensive player call to defensive player you want to go up against. And so Tez Walker from North Carolina says, I'm going to go against King. He beat him both times. And I know it's not easy for the corners to win those 1v1s, but it just looks like he is either kind of just whiffing a little bit when he's in press. He just doesn't have the speed to run with some of these guys. It just has not been a great 2023 and now starting to be a draft process for King. I don't know, JJ. I think you're getting the hang of this already. It's the first one. It's the first, time using StreamYard. So
I learned very quickly if there's an opportunity to goof off and make stupid jokes.
That's what derailed us for. That's what it's for. So we're here for that.
You were talking on your Monday podcast,
yeah,
about Spencer Rattler, that he was looking good, and I'm like one of the biggest Spencer Rattler doubters out there. So, can you talk about what you have liked from him? You mentioned that his issues with maturity seem to, by the reports you've heard, seem to be a thing of the past. Can you?
It sounds like that's
that?
the case. Yeah, it sounds like that. At least what Nagy was hearing is just tuning into him and him saying like teams have been impressed with like how mature he's gotten. Because I will say I've heard things about stuff in high school, nothing like horrendously bad, but it's just like kind of things that you just don't. It's just it's weird stuff that is just like very not like a team focused player at all. And it felt kind of, I don't know. I don't know how well he handled himself at Oklahoma when Caleb took over. Right. But it sounds like, yeah. And Ryan has a comment. I mean, like that kind of seemed like it kind of seemed like there were times where he was just never in the wrong. But if he's made strides, that's really good. And I'm glad he's got a lot of talent, the arm talent, especially. There are some, throws down the field that, get you really excited. Some of the arm talent and I mean, some of the poise that he can handle a little bit in against pressure though. I do think he needs to work on like leverage throws and processing skills against zone coverage a lot more. But I'll tell you, if you show man coverage against him, he knows exactly where he's going to go, and he's putting it on the money. So there's obviously tools there, right? We were talking about him, back in 2021 for the 2022 draft. Right? Like it was him and Howell that were like, oh yeah, these are the guys that are going to kind of lead the way. It didn't work out that way, but it seems like from how Nagy talked, he's probably going day 2.
Wow.
So
that's just,
and it might be in the 3rd round, right? But that's just kind of what it sounds like.
I mean, he's got the arm talent, I think. And obviously this has changed. Like he's played 2 years at South Carolina since then, but like,
yeah,
at the time that he transferred, it was like, it had been a long time since I'd heard anybody, talking about the BS about like, well, I'm not sure how much X player actually likes football. But like with Spencer, you were like, that actually feels like it fits here. Like it doesn't feel like actual football was what he liked. Seemed like he liked the attention and,
right.
And the
idea of being a quarterback, probably.
Yeah. But I mean, he's put in 2 full years at South Carolina, and like you said, seems to have matured a lot since then.
I know really quick his game against Clemson last year, where they like went in there and said, "Yeah, playoff." I don't think so, right? Like they just went in there and just handed it to him. That was awesome, and like that kind of statement game is really cool to see from a guy like Rattler.
So now I have to figure out how Ryan does my pay counter.
Here's money. I've already asked questions.
LLPS. How do I edit this though?
We'll figure it out.
Ryan, how do I edit this? Here it is. JJ pay
what Ryan should do is Ryan should come in the studio, hang out backstage, and just run the 1s and 2s of this. That could be the move.
That's way more work than Ryan is gonna be willing to put in. There we go. What do you think about that?
There we go. I like it.
First of all, Tyler, thank you. Oh yeah. Shoot, I did this wrong. Look, do you see my mistake?
Yeah, I do see it. It's fine.
It should be 249.5.
Yes, because that's real.
There we go.
Find that half penny somewhere.
There.
Okay. What are we doing? Tyler says he wants Fuaga at guard somehow. Okay. Good luck. The Jets at 10 is where it starts with Fuaga. It's just how it is, unfortunately.
Isn't it? It's like a whole football season later. I'm still like sadly chuckling at the fact that the Jets season basically went exactly how we all said it would when we saw that offensive line they were planning on putting out there. And like, I think that in the back of our heads, we were like, no, like they'll find a way to make it work somehow, but there's no way it should work. And then,
yeah. Yeah, I don't. It was like, okay, the defense is good. We know that. Right. And like, they have Breece Hall, they have Garrett Wilson. Like there's some talent on the offense. But we know where the game is won. And like it took 4 snaps. It's unreal. It's unreal. I do want to get to the above ones though as well, that I know Mike and my cousin are asking.
Yeah,
about
I wanted to
another guy
ask
here.
who Adam Shavink was.
Yeah, that's my cousin. Yep.
Is he a draft expert too? Like, should we have him on the live stream?
I mean, you could have him if you want to, I'm sure.
Adam, tell me in the comments if you're an expert, and if you are, then I'll think about inviting you on here.
I wouldn't call myself an expert either. I just have Wi-Fi. So,
well, you're a professional, because a professional is just someone who gets paid to do what they do, and you get pennies for podcasting. So you're a professional.
Professional podcaster, then perhaps
you're a professional draft podcaster.
Okay, I guess I can.
So, professional draft podcaster,
okay.
Tell me your thoughts on replacing JRJ with JPJ.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Is not just see Josh Myers, because Powers Johnson got reps at right guard today too. Looked really clean. Like the ability to recover with footwork catching up to his hands, like it's unreal to think about. Like he is just doing this for 1 year. He has come out and just played elite ball, and it's continuing for this week of the Senior Bowl. Like powerful, right? The Packers are going to love that he pass protects extremely well, resets the hands, can handle himself in zone blocking. Like he's going to be able to do kind of a bit of everything. It's just a question of like, are they willing to go after a guy who's 334, which is traditionally not what they do. Right. Like even with like Sean Ryan was at like 320. And it was like kind of a stretch because they've often just stayed with guys in the teens, even an interior. Like Myers was like 310, no?
Well, just FYI, Google says he's 320. If you just Google it, like that's their little
thing they put there. So Powers Johnson?
Yeah.
No, he weighed in. Senior Bowl measurements were Monday.
334. You're not helping
334
with my propaganda. I'm trying to
I'm not a propaganda guy.
I'm trying to convince Gutekunst that he's 320.
We just need to convince Gutekunst that he's a good player and the size is fine. It's not a big deal. That's what we need to be doing. We just gotta be like, dude, Goody, listen, it's fine.
I mean,
think about building a wall of Lambo when you want 310 guys instead of 330 guys on the interior.
He definitely has bent the rules on like every rule that we consider a rule, like except for this one. So
yeah,
come on, Brian. I mean, you drafted Amari Rodgers, and he was below the imaginary meridian line of height.
Yep.
Devontae Wyatt was too old. Quay Walker was a linebacker.
Yep.
What are the other rules that he's broken?
Oh, Jaden Reed, right? The 187.
Yeah, skinny little. And that one actually panned out.
I mean, Wyatt's not done. Wyatt's good pass rusher. Wyatt's good pass rusher.
Yeah, but
a lot of it's gone, we've gone from like it varies. Results may vary outside of the thresholds.
And I think that defensive lineman is more similar to offensive lineman than wide receiver is anyways. So
yeah, probably. I would love him to play center or right guard. I just want that guy in the room. I don't know if you saw the clip going around earlier this week, but it was like Powers Johnson blocking out in space for a guy, and he kind of does the track thing that Julio used to do and Tyreek did when they cross the end zone, right, where they kind of lean over, and he kind of leaned over the goal line after when his teammate was scoring too. It was really cool. Just seems like a guy you want to have on your team.
Sounds like fun. We need some slobs on the offensive line. All our guys are like way too clean cut to run block. You need some smelly guys with with a neck beard. If you don't have one of those guys, you
Yeah.
can't run block. Everybody knows that.
Right. No, Packers are just like, listen, we're just here to find a way to get Aaron Jones big gains. We're more worried about protecting our QB. That's it.
Like, have you seen John Runyon? Like that dude could be like a portfolio manager.
Oh yeah.
Which explains why he's a terrible run blocker.
These guys are too nice playing on the O-line.
All right. Who else did you like in the Senior Bowl?
Well, it was good. I'm glad that Mike and Adam both brought up Jackson Powers Johnson to talk about him for a little bit because that he was definitely somebody who had a really nice day. There are a few receivers I think that stood out. Ricky Pearsall from Florida looked natural as a separator. Roman Wilson looked as smooth as ever, and he looked pretty speedy too. Even he's 185. He's probably going to play slot receiver, but made some tough catches, and just looked natural.
I haven't watched Ricky Pearsall at all.
I like him. He was someone on, when you're on the broadcast film, you're looking at him, you're like, that's a pretty small guy. And he came in at 6 foot and he looked a lot taller today for some reason. No idea why. Don't know what's going on with TVs nowadays, but like he looked tall. He was like 6 foot. He's like 193. So it looks like a guy who can't run block if that's Pearsall.
I mean, that is the least run blocking looking dude I've ever seen.
Could be. It could be.
This is like Josiah DeGuara plus.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up.
Why?
Oh, we'll get to it.
No, tell me because wherever I was going with this is dumber than what you're going to say.
I was going to say, Ben Sinnott from Kansas State can do everything. Run block from an inline wide tight end position, run block from a fullback H-back spot, catch a football, run nice routes, make tough catches. Like he quintessential does everything tight end. If they want their DeGuara, go get him. He's 6'4", 254. He's not a small guy either, but he can do everything. And he had a really strong day today. I think he's easily the best tight end here. And he might be the best tight end in the draft, not named Brock Bowers.
Genuinely. You weren't kidding about how hard it is to share a screen on here
I know. It's kind of a pain.
Like I'm trying to do like a cool, like you say a guy and like 5 seconds later I put his picture up on here.
Yeah, it's tough. That's why like when I do the streams and I like have like, oh, I'm going to bring up this guy. I have to have it like right there. Like I have to have like it in like a folder with pictures all in a row, like where they need to be because it is tough. But he had a great. Sinnott really liked the player. I feel like everybody wants to draft him in mocks, and understandably so. He just does everything well. He's like what you want. Like, this is what we want Josiah DeGuara to do. It's like, okay, this is him. That's it. There he is. Goody, do your thing. Although I think he probably feels comfortable with the tight end room, but
do you think we're gonna get like
plenty of speed, right?
If I share these clips,
might be. You might, yeah. It's very possible.
Well, I don't want to get us demonetized.
It's like, all right, we're gonna bring up highlights. We are Jay's like, we are ESPN now. But I came in thinking like I think he was the best tight end in my superlatives pod yesterday. Like it seemed just an easy call based on who's coming down in Mobile. So
that was an interesting offense that they ran in Kansas State because they got like this multi-quarterback situation, which I don't know. I thought that Will Howard threw it just fine, but then they insisted on pulling him anytime they wanted to throw the ball. And it was like one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines I've seen in a while, but they made some work running the ball.
Yeah, Cooper Beebe, road grader, for sure. And Sinnott was definitely a part of that too. So, yeah, I liked him a lot. I think, I brought this up. I think Max Melton's a Packer, ladies and gentlemen. I think he is. Genuinely. There wasn't like one guy that stood out more than him as like, that's a Packer. Just looks super fluid as a corner. I think he can play slot, can play on the boundary. Played tough, and I love the demeanor today. Like, he got beat, and corners are going to get beat in the 1v1s. That's just how it goes, right? We mentioned already. The wide receivers have infinite space to work with, basically. And, you know, Melton gets beat. He's like, all right, no big deal. We'll get the next one, and then he gets the next one. And just has the type of demeanor to play corner that I would want. And I think Goody will want it as well.
Currently a 4th-round projection. Highest he's been ranked is 64th overall.
Melton or Sanat?
Yeah, Max Melton.
Wow. Okay.
So this is probably our 1st-round pick.
No. Hold on.
2nd-round pick.
Hold on. That I could see that. Their second round pick, I could see it. Big 10 guy that people think is drafted too early. That's fine. We did that last year. We're good. We'll do
Rutgers
that
is basically Maryland.
Yeah, same thing. No problem.
2023 star recruit. He is in 4% of 1st-round mocks.
He's in 1st round. That's crazy. Maybe it was early.
of 1st-round mocks. Yep.
Maybe it was early in the process that he was doing that.
Maybe he was consensus number 331 back in October.
Wow, that's
and then
low.
mid October, I guess October 7th, he shot up to about 104, and he's basically stayed there.
Okay.
Ever since. He's bounced between 100 and roughly 70, between 70 and 100 ever since.
I buy that. Yeah.
But yeah, 4% of 1st-round mocks.
Yeah. I think he's quintessential Packer right now.
You know what else is quintessential Packer? Drafting offensive linemen who can't run block and drafting wide receivers who can run block.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, this is an interesting strategy here that
you're going to flip.
It's almost like how when Kansas State wanted to throw the ball, they pulled their quarterback with the gut arm out. When the Packers want to run block, they swap out their offensive linemen for wide receivers. Nobody sees it coming.
That might be the area where you need to just all tight ends. Put Kraft out there, draft Sanat, right? Bring back Tyler Davis. I believe he's a free agent, I think. Put Ben Sims out there. Is he a restricted free agent, maybe?
I'm opening my spreadsheet. I
thought he was. Maybe he's not an unrestricted one, but I thought he was listed under the UFAs.
No, he is he's a different thing. He is
exclusive
he's unrestricted.
Oh, he is.
DeGuara and Davis are both unrestricted, and then we have 5 tight ends who are under contract right now.
Still 5 tight ends under contract.
Well,
I ain't worried about.
I'm counting Henry Pearson.
Yeah, Sanat's better than all of them not named, Musgrave and Kraft, I think. And who knows? Maybe he's better than them. I don't know. Drafts a lottery anyway. But that would be fun to be in, honestly, 13 personnel with Musgrave, Kraft, and Sanat would be sick. And Watson's the only receiver out there. Oh, can you imagine the possibilities? You have enough speed to open up the field. Musgrave and Watson. That's sick. I hope LaFleur's listening to this.
Bold of you to bench Bo Melton.
Listen, sometimes you got to make tough decisions out there. Can't be out there on every play. But he might, for half the games that Watson's out, then it will be Melton who is in that spot, basically. So, you got to have, he's the contingency plan when we're in 13.
So we've got Musgrave, Kraft, Ben Sims, Henry Pearson, and Joel Wilson under contract. I would be surprised if they don't try and bring back Tyler Davis.
Probably.
Do you think that they make Josiah DeGuara an offer? I think they'd rather have him in the building than not have him in the building.
I guess. I just like living in my dream world instead of talking about bringing guys back that Sanat is better than. But it is what it is.
I'm not saying don't draft Sanat.
I think we're spending a lot of time on Ben Sanat, which is funny. The Packers probably don't even need tight end and probably will not draft any. But Yeah, I agree. I think that they might throw, DeGuara might be one of those guys that they like, just like Patrick Taylor. Same with Tyler Davis, right? Both of them might fall under that umbrella where like, yeah, we like him. So
But like
deal with it,
Tyler Davis was such a pivotal special teamer.
That's true.
Like I think that he gets a roster spot for that reason alone. And
want to look at some not played special team snaps now.
They really like Ben Sims.
Yeah, I think he's done like fine.
I feel like he's, that's about all I have to say on Ben Sims.
Okay, that's it. That's good. I think he's fine for being an undrafted guy. Like, I think he's still fine. But,
I think that LaFleur like really loves him. And I think I just am fine with him.
LaFleur has the unhealthy obsession with RB3 and tight end 4 and 5 in the building. It is what it is. It's fine.
Dude, I hate how much he loves our RB3.
I know. Me too. But maybe he won't be the RB3 for long. You know what I'm saying? Like, might be the RB2.
You think Patrick Taylor's going to be RB2 this year?
No, I was kidding. But, the draft, the running back class isn't like the best.
No, it's a bad running back class.
I mean, Brooks tearing his ACL really hinders it too. Because obviously Edwards, Henderson, Devin Neal, Taj Brooks, all these guys going back. It was very tough.
I'm really interested to see what the heck Edwards does this year. Because he's just been living under Corum's shadow this whole time.
Yes.
And I think every single person out there thinks that Edwards not only clearly can be a bell cow back, but thinks that his NFL ceiling should be higher than Corum's. Am I wrong about that?
I don't think you're wrong to say that people think his ceiling is higher, and I can certainly see a scenario where that is the case. But my guy needs to use these two things right here. These are important to use. And when they're running duo and he's running into the back of the O-line, it drives me up a wall. And it further drives me up a wall because it doesn't even matter that he has done such a thing and he can score anyway. That's why people are like, well, the ceiling is extremely high. Because yeah, it is. Because if the guy develops any sense of processing or feel running between the tackles, the rest, whoever drafts him, the rest of the league is in trouble. Because say he goes to Miami and he figures out how to, good luck.
I don't want him to go to Miami.
Have fun with that. Edwards and HN. He has to figure that out though. Because it's going to be a lot tougher when it's, not Washington's run defense.
All right. I got something for you.
Okay. What do you got?
Donovan Edwards elusiveness rating.
Why do I feel
give me a guess?
89.
What'd you say?
89.
The highest it's ever been was in 2022, and it was a 72.
Okay. I knew it wasn't over 100.
In 21 and 23, it was low 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say this last year was probably not great. It felt like him and Corum were never breaking tackles. It's just a weird year until Corum, had that Penn State game. But again, Corum is very Edwards-Helaire where he needs to go to a scheme that runs more duo than anything else. Let him press the line. Let him get outside. Let him use the jump cuts.
Some people would say Edwards-Helaire means McDonald's employee. Some people
might say that. Some people might say that.
Some people named JJ.
Well,
do you want to talk defensive coordinators?
Yeah, that sounds good. If people have other questions about Senior Bowl players, you can still put it in the chat.
Well, we've had 10 minutes without people
for sure. Yeah,
putting anything in the chat, despite the fact that the viewers are still up there. We're either putting them to sleep or we have exhausted their interest in the Senior Bowl.
Could be.
All right.
I know I have over 4 hours of interest that I could put into a single thing, and I doubt people will be listening to it. So I get it a little bit. So
here we go.
Told
Snoop
for this
Dogg
coming
knows
in
ball.
clutch. Yep, he knows ball.
All right, so I've got the list of candidates, and let's talk about the guys they have interviewed, and then the guys that they are reported to have interest in.
Okay.
And our thoughts on these guys. So first of all, the 5 interviews, only 4 of them matter because Bobby Babich has now accepted the Bills defensive coordinator job, so he's out. They've completed interviews with Christian Parker and Brandon Staley, requested interviews with Denard Wilson and Zach Orr. I think they've completed the Aiden Durd interview as well.
Okay.
So those are the guys. So let's talk Brandon Staley first, I think.
Okay.
Because that was the first one that happened. Rate your enthusiasm for the potential announcement of a Brandon Staley hire.
Like out of 10, I'd say around 4 or 5. But I think enthusiasm doesn't necessarily mean like that I super dislike the hiring. Because like I do think there are games where you look at his defense and he goes, "Oh, they figured this out." Like like the 2022 film that he put out with his defense against that Miami offense. That's clinical. Absolutely clinical performance. Took away pretty much everything over the middle of the field, even with, I would say, pretty below average linebacker play. And I don't think the personnel's been overly exciting in LA since he got there either. I know the Mac thing was exciting. He had a good year, and kudos to that for Mac for doing that, because but he's lost. But Bosa's been hurt a ton, right? They have Kenneth Murray playing linebacker, who he can't. If he picked the right gap, I'd be shocked. That's what it feels like most of the time. They're getting fine corner play, and like Derwin James just did not have a good year either. So I don't think the personnel was necessarily bad, and he was also the type where it felt like now it's just, okay, how much is he doing now to try and get everything else, keep it afloat? And he's kind of, disregarding the defense a little bit because he's running what he wants to run. And I think coaching was too overwhelming for him, and also being bullied by people for going for it on 4th down a bunch, and not sticking to his guns. That was the biggest thing. He caved to the media pressure. That don't do that. If I know we're not talking about this, but I'm just kind of like begging Dan, and I know it's a rival, I get it. I'm begging Dan Campbell not to cave to the media on this either. Just someone stay strong in this, going for it on 4th. But like, I don't know. Staley to me is like someone who's probably going to be a solid defensive coordinator who just probably will not get, or maybe even want, another head coaching gig. Like, I think he'd be fine. The personnel is going to be similar, so we already know what we're looking for. Draft wise, it's going to be pretty similar stuff. You're going to want what you're going to want at safety and corner, so that's kind of nice. But I know people are going to have a sour taste because of how things went in LA. But like, I think if he's got the bit and he's focused and where he needs to be, and like, I think Green Bay is going to have better personnel than the Chargers did personally, and so I think that's maybe a plus. So I wouldn't be like overly enthused, but I wouldn't like be abhorrent over that hiring.
You know how like Mike McDaniel's reputation is like interesting / eccentric genius. Like that's his reputation.
Yeah.
That was Brandon Staley's reputation up until that elimination game at the end of his first year as a head coach. And like overnight, his reputation went from like exactly what Mike McDaniel's reputation is to freaking idiot. Like that's overnight. People changed their opinion of who Brandon Staley was based on that one game. I always thought that was interesting because I loved listening, and still do enjoy listening to Brandon Staley talk football. I think he's a very intelligent guy who can think at a very high level schematically. But to your point, I think some of the head coaching responsibilities were kind of just too much for him to manage all of it. And it's a similar thing to like when people hype up certain position coaches for coordinator jobs,
It's true.
and it makes me nervous. And like Al Harris is a great example of this, of like, hey, what Al Harris has done so far makes you very excited about him as a coach. And that's great. And yes, he's succeeded at what he's been asked to do so far. But like the jump from coaching defensive backs to everything that entails being a defensive coordinator, it's such a big gap. And I just haven't seen anything that tells me, hey, Al Harris does know how to do all these things at once. Coordinating practices, coordinate a whole bunch of different position groups all together, scouting upcoming opponents, game planning, play calling, situational play calling, managing the personalities of all the assistant coaches underneath you. Like there's so much that goes into being a defensive coordinator, and it's such a big gap between, going from just coaching a position group to coaching, coordinating a whole defense, especially like, and I guess this part doesn't apply quite so much to the Brandon Staley thing, but sticking with the Packers thing, like when you're coaching for an offensive head coach, it's being the defensive coordinator is more like being the head coach of the defense. Like Matt LaFleur is the head coach of the offense, and he wants a head coach of the defense, which, by the way, like we'll get to Christian Parker, but Christian Parker is one of those guys where I'm looking at it sideways and going, this is a little bit strange to me that Matt LaFleur is so interested in bringing in like a really young guy who's never done this before, because we know that he wants to be able to focus so much on the offense.
That's a good point.
And like he just had to hold Joe Barry's hand for the last 3 or 4 games of the season, at the end of this year. Did he enjoy that? Like I feel like you wouldn't enjoy having to go in and run the defensive coordinators meetings for you and be involved in the defensive game planning. Like maybe that really is actually fun for Matt LaFleur. I would be a little bit surprised. So again, I'm surprised that he's interested in so many of these young defensive coaches who have never, done anything close to coordinating a whole defense before. So that's why some of the guys, Brandon Staley makes sense because he has the experience. Some of these guys like Anthony Weaver, who's an assistant head coach and like very much, in charge of a lot of stuff on that side of the ball, with assisting the defensive coordinator. Like clearly you should be able to assess whether Anthony Weaver has what it takes to run his own defense. Yeah. And then a guy like, Aiden Durd or somebody, I just don't know what you're basing that assumption off of.
Well, I think maybe it's I think LaFleur probably enjoyed the results, at least for 3 games and then 58 minutes of another, right? I think he enjoyed that, those results. So maybe that was, part of the like, okay, if I have my hands on with this, we're going to get better results. So I'm going to at least enjoy that part of it. But yeah, I think you make a great point. Like some people are just going to, some coaches are just going to be really, really, really good, position coaches. And that's good. And we need, and the NFL needs those. And some guys are going to just be really, really good defensive coordinators in the same vein. So if that's what Staley is, cool. Like that's totally fine. Like if Staley can convince me that like, listen, I know the results aren't super good in LA, but I think but my plan for this defense, with the personnel you have, I think is going to be one that can be successful. Excellent. Because I think and like you say, he's got a lot of the experience of, okay, well, as a head coach, he knows all that goes into that. As a DC with the Rams, I know it was for 1 season, but he knows what goes into that. So, and maybe him and LaFleur are on the same page with a lot of things, right? And they've had to defend a lot of the same schemes that, LaFleur has done, and Staley's seen a lot of it, and LaFleur's seen a lot of what Staley's been throwing out, defensively. So they're kind of, at a point where maybe they're on the same page better than Barry and LaFleur were with how things need to be run and how to be successful. So that's really good. But I think you do make a great point of like as well with like Weaver and all these guys who have all this, like have done the delegation things and know like, okay, I got to tell this to my D-line. I got to tell this to my linebackers. I got to tell this to the secondary this week of like, okay, here's what I'm seeing right now with team X. And like, okay, corners, this is what you have to look out for. And being able to delegate all that. I think you're right where it's like some of these positional coaches they're interviewing, I'm not sure if that's the big step. And I think Al Harris was a big one for me as well, where I'm like looking at him like, I would like to see him have a little more of a hand in the entire defense.
Yeah.
Even as just a pass game coordinator, at least, like that would help a lot and give me a lot of confidence in seeing like, okay, he's the passing game coordinator. Things are looking good in Dallas when he's doing that. That gives me a lot more enthusiasm for him to be a DC. I just think it's a little too early and for like that. So I'd rather have somebody who's already done passing game coordinator stuff, or as we're talking about with Staley, has already done the defensive coordinator thing and even the head coach thing. So he understands, what the defensive coordinator is going to be asked every week. So
I'm very curious what an interview with Aiden Durd would look like when you're asking him about scouting and game planning and being a boss of all these other coaches and everything. And like the thought process behind like even bringing him in for an interview is a little hard for me to wrap my mind around that. But I'm very curious what that interview looks like, what you actually talk about and what kind of answers he's able to give me. I'm sure he's not an idiot. I'm sure that he has been around, some really smart coaches. He's been working under Dan Quinn. Everybody thinks Dan Quinn's a fantastic defensive coordinator. There's a lot that he can absorb by observing Dan Quinn.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, if he's like constant, if he has like proven in the interview that he's constantly picking the brain of like Dan Quinn every week and like, okay, so the defensive line, like, okay, I know what we're doing. Like, how does that affect what's going on behind us, right? That would be really nice to know, and maybe that's what he's brought up a lot in the interview. It's very possible, but like it's we don't know. It's we can only hope. That's if one of these guys who's not been a DC or a passing game coordinator is hired, it's got to be like, all right, well, they must have impressed with something. They must have been like, yeah, I'm picking the brain of this guy and this guy and this guy, and like, I've been listening about everything.
I have zero confidence in that because Matt LaFleur hired Joe Barry, he hired Mo Drayton, he hired Sean Menenga. Like, it does it. I have zero faith in. Well, LaFleur likes him, so he must have had an impressive interview. Like, miss me with that.
Okay, fair enough.
I hate to be a downer, but actually, no. I like it.
No, you don't.
I like being a downer. Ian asks,
let me pour cold water on the hype train right now, really quick here.
Ian asks, who's the
best? But it's a good reality check, by the way.
Best linebacker to draft that can pair with Quay Walker. Would love to have two elite linebackers able to fly and smash. I mean, here's my question first, Jake. Are you looking for another Devondre Campbell, or do you just start with Quay and try and think of the perfect counterpart to Quay?
Yeah. Would you rather have like Quay being, doing more Campbell stuff rather than, a lot of the downhill gap responsibility stuff? Because if so, I think, you go get yourself a Junior Colson from Michigan. But if you want Quay to be, green dotted and all that.
I mean, my answer. I want Quay to be Micah Parsons. You know that.
Well, that wasn't part of the question.
That
wasn't part of the.
All right,
Matt, I can't help you. Now we need two linebackers. What are we doing? I don't. Then we got a lot of questions.
I always admit that of any football position, I know the least and understand the least about linebacker. I've never shied away from that.
Oh, same. You can try to guess like, okay, this is responsibility X if X happens to the D tackle, if D tackle, if the linemen are doing certain, if it's zone or gap, and what the technique is for the D lineman, and how we think we see what we're seeing. We probably don't see what we think we're seeing, right? That's the toughest part about evaluating these guys, because what do we gravitate towards when we evaluate linebackers, right? We see the speed, we see how hard they hit, how much ground they can cover. We see a lot of the physical trait stuff, and it's just impossible to know what's going on up here a lot of the time. And like, there are certainly flash plays where you go, okay, yeah, he sees this coming. He knows what's coming. He's closing and making a play. it feels like it's often a screenplay, right? And that's what we're like gravitating towards is like, oh wow, he sniffed out the screen. It's like, yeah, I mean, the D linemen do that too. So it's difficult. And I think, yeah, we kind of love all the traits guys over, and a lot of the traits guys go early, but we overlook kind of like some of the fundamental stuff and some stuff that I don't understand. And that's why you see, like, if you look at linebacker and just kind of correlation of round to like success, there just isn't any, because maybe even like we are, the NFL is just kind of more like looking at all the physical, the trait stuff, what you see like when you're watching, rather than what is he thinking? Is he getting people in position? Right. There's a lot that goes into it when you have the green dot in green bit. Like, so
Well,
yeah,
so
it's tough. That's one of the toughest, probably the toughest, like I said, one to eval.
I mean, I barely try to understand linebacker, if I'm being honest, because there's so many other positions that I feel like I can actually speak intelligently on, that I don't feel like I need to wade into the one that I'm a complete idiot about. But so if you got like sort of your adjuster and your bandit linebackers, right?
Yeah.
Like Quay to me would be the guy that you would want as your bandit, like your rover linebacker, you know, handling some of the stuff that they used to have Za'Darius do back in the day, where he, you know, go line up right over the center and, you know, just wreck stuff. And then you got your adjuster linebacker is more reacting to what the offense is doing and how they're lined up.
Yeah.
So I think like that's the linebacker I want to go draft, is the guy who's like really gap sound, and like a really thumping tackler, and probably a little bit on the bigger side, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That is by far the most intelligently I can ever speak on linebacker. So don't ask me to top that.
Yeah.
But that's what I want. I want a big gap sound thumping tackler.
Yeah. So, and it's a good point. Like the people like, and I was one of them. I like Patrick Queen. It came out of the draft. It was clear he needed the Roquan Smith next to him to get everything set, and he could just do what he's doing. Like he could just kind of work more off the ball, stay in coverage, work on, you know, range against the run, like do all these things in space where he can operate really well. And then Roquan's your guy who's just going blowing up plays. Excuse me, YouTube. Disrupting plays and wreaking havoc, you know, at the line of scrimmage. So does Quay need his Roquan Smith? Maybe. If I know Ian just asked, is Patrick Queen a good fit with Walker? Depends on how you view Walker, right? Do you view Walker as the green dot? Then sure. If you don't, then no, because they're both best fit as the same position. So
Drew, are you talking about Nick Bolton? Tough. I think Drew's talking about Nick Bolton.
Yeah, Nick Bolton was the quintessential, like, Nick Bolton's like, oh, he's not really that athletic. Well, it's like, well, he's just got a great answer to kind of counteract the lack of length he had to get off blocks. He played tough, and he had good flexibility, good change of direction. He could get around blocks, and he was still a downhill thumping player who knew where he needed to be. It's just, it was hard for him to disengage when he, you know, was engaged. And so he found a way around that, and he's playing some solid ball. And wouldn't say he's necessarily like a world beater out there, but he's figured it out, at least to enough to be, you know, starting in that rotation. That, to me, I mean, I still think Junior Colson is still that guy if you're going with, you know, more size at the position, right? Your Edgerrin Coopers and your Jeremiah Trotters are your guys who are playing off the ball. They're playing in space. They're blitzing. You know, they're dropping to cover. They're doing all of those things, and they're not being the green dot. Like Edgerrin Cooper came in, by the way, at the Shrine Bowl. I know he's dealing with injury, but 6'2", 227?
Junior Colson.
Big. He's big. Isn't he listed like is he listed 247? Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
I don't know. Actually, I was looking at him on NFL mock draft database.
Oh,
he's okay. 247, 6'3", big guy.
Yeah, maybe.
He's right now consensus about a 4th rounder, but I would say
let's do that.
It's interesting because he fell in December all the way down to.
I think that's when I think it's when he got the club on his hand, and he probably wasn't tackling as well with the club on. I bet.
So then he jumped.
That's
he jumped right back up to about 100, and then he was trending toward mid third round. Now he's back down to the fourth round. So,
good point.
I mean, you'd have to use a top 100 pick on him for sure. I think
that's fine. Got a lot of those.
Yeah, this is the year to do it.
Yeah, we got a lot of those top 100s. Feel good about it.
That's probably about all the linebacker talk I have in me.
Yeah, I know. I think Drew asked about how did Graham Barton do? Unfortunately, Graham Barton was taken off the roster last week. He is not down here in Mobile, which stinks. There were a lot of guys who dropped out, who were unfortunately mentioned on the Monday pod. But that's how it goes. There's always guys on Monday that they're not here, by the way. And so like Fautanu from Washington, Byron Murphy, Sainer still, Cooper Beebe. So there were a lot of dropouts that made it tough. But like Barton was one of those who kind of just subtle as they were kind of adding guys and revealing the rosters and all that. He was kind of dropped off. Yeah. And Drew, I was upset too, because I wanted to see him play all 5 spots. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a fun time to see that. It stinks. It stinks when some of these guys drop out. So
here's our next guy to talk about, because even though he is now the Bills defensive coordinator, Ross Uglum,
that's so funny.
Still thinks that this might be a thing. I thought he was joking when he said that this almost certainly takes him out of the running in Green Bay.
Oh,
he elaborated.
I thought he was.
No, he's not joking at all. He said the only thing is if McDermott isn't letting him call plays.
I thought I 100% was laughing. I thought I was going to laugh.
I was too until
that's
I saw
really good. I was like, Ross, I like that. That was cheeky. I like that. But I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, that was my exact reaction.
I assumed he was joking. But that's unfortunate. I liked Babish. I think I put him at like maybe 6, 5 or 6 on your thing. I thought
I had him. Wait, did you say on my thing?
Yeah, on the Google like.
Oh, right. I
think I put him for like 5 or 6. I want to say.
I need to revisit that because it's been a few days since I updated people on like what the official ratings were from the fans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was not a big Bobby Babich guy, but
yeah, I think I landed in the middle. I want to say.
You want to talk Christian Parker?
Sure.
So Andrew Mertig.
Ian, we're ignoring your comment, I think. I don't know. I was gonna say, will Reichard look good for Bama today kicking? Made like a 56-yarder look pretty easy. That's all I got at this point.
Trying to evaluate college kickers, in my opinion, is a complete waste of time.
Punters are super fun, I will say. That's a fun.
Yeah, fun, but not like it doesn't do much.
You can see a lot of Tory Taylor from Iowa if you want to. They had more punting yards than yards on offense, so you can see a lot of reps from him if you go back and watch games.
I feel like when you're watching a kicker in college, the biggest thing is just like, does he have the leg to go the distance? And if he does, then flip a coin, roll a dice, and see whether he's going to actually pan out in the NFL. But Andrew Mertig and our own friend of the show, Brian Maffey, both heard tell that Christian Parker was offered the Packers defensive coordinator job. Since then, the Packers have interviewed a couple more guys, so we'll see. What are your thoughts on Christian Parker? So everybody knows who he is. He's spent a little bit of time as an analyst here in Green Bay and then has coached defensive backs in Denver for the last 3 years. And the interesting part of that to me is he's done so under 3 different defensive coordinators. His first year was under Vic Fangio. Second year was under Ejiro Evero. Third year was under Vance Joseph. So that is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Now, Vance Joseph is, Ejiro Evero kind of ran the same defense that Vic Fangio did. And then Vance Joseph this year, over the course of the season, was migrating away from that Fangio style into the Vance Joseph style. And I don't know a lot about the Vance Joseph style, but I know that he was doing that.
Yeah.
What do you think about Christian Parker and his really rapid rise?
I think it's interesting. It's always worth checking out like who these like quick risers are, because a lot of people, they're thinking like, yeah, you might have, the next McVay, even though McVay wasn't really a quick rise. He just started a lot younger and really got into it. It was 31 when he was hired as a head coach, but these young guys with a lot of drive, it's always worth looking into. Oh man, JJ changed my name again. Okay.
That was like an hour ago, dude.
I haven't seen it up there. We were pulling up comments and whatnot. But I do like that he has at least hopefully drawn from Fangio himself, which is nice. Always love having the OG, and being in his ear at least a little bit. I have the connections to Evero. We like that. We like that for sure. How he knows Evero? Sure. Yes. Bring him in. I like that part about it. But like, is the fact that he was in Green Bay at one point kind of maybe starting to elevate this a little bit for fans of like, ooh, Green Bay. Cause like, I'm just saying, I know Andy Herman did like the poll version of this, JJ, when you kind of did that. I think you did a better version personally, because I knew what the poll was going to, we all knew what was going to happen there. Yeah. It was going to be Leonard versus Harris for sure. Come on.
Which the funny thing is, the last time I checked, we had over 100 responses in the one that I put out.
Yeah.
And Harris and Leonard were both outside of the top 10.
I think it was easily a better version of doing this, but it just seems like, is that connection to the Packers starting to kind of elevate him in the minds of everybody, and like, okay, yes, he's the dude. Because I think he is in the same vein of Dird, where it's like, you better have like a pretty good plan and a good idea of like, okay, this is what I've going to take from Fangio and take from Evero a little bit as well. And then like, oh, Vance Joseph did like things I like in this regard. Like, can we be multiple a little bit? Cool. His plan to get the report. Listen, I'm not going to disparage them for doing the reports, because those, especially Brian, who doesn't like do that. He's not like the aggregator people who like just kind of throw stuff out and like wait for it to stick. Brian is not that guy. So, maybe they were setting up to offer him, and who knows, but like for him to be in that type of consideration, to me, either it's okay, he's got some familiarity with Evero and Fangio, and it's like, okay, Matt's like, yes, Joe Barry has run a lot of this, and maybe he'll kind of stick to kind of the stuff that we kind of did end of season and into the postseason, and he believes that Parker can do that and be kind of this hiring cycle's Evero, perhaps. Which, if he can be, that's excellent. It's a good hire. At the same time, like to see a little more experience doing more within a defense. But with the kind of young ascending coach thing that he's kind of gotten the reputation of being, it's intriguing. I think he was another guy, probably put it like 4 or 5 on your thing. But
so I went, I did pull up the newest ratings here. So for a penny, I'm going to add a penny to your pay counter here if you get this right.
Okay.
I'm going to add it from my sum. Okay.
Okay.
My 249.5.
All right.
Who's the number one guy right now? Number one, number two are in a dead heat.
Oh, 1 and 2.
You don't have to guess both. I'm saying that 1 and 2 are in a dead heat right now. So who do you think is number one among Packer fans?
If I were guessing who it is
neck and neck here with these top 2 guys.
Is Evero one of the 2?
Evero is one of them, yeah.
Yeah, I figured he was one of them, because I think he was probably overwhelming leader.
You should be able to guess who the second one is too.
Is it? I have to go through it. Is it Hewitt?
Hewitt's number 3.
Darn it!
It's the more obvious guy than Hewitt.
Is it really? It's not Minter, is it? Is it really Minter?
No, Minter's at 4.
I was going to say, I thought Minter was
behind Hewitt.
I was going to say, I thought he was substantially lower when you put out the first.
We have in the top 5 guys, we have 3 Ravens.
Oh, so is it Weaver?
Weaver is the other guy who's in the top 2. So who's at number 1? Is it Evero or Weaver?
At the start, I feel like at the start, when you were just into the poll, I feel like it was Evero, but I feel like Weaver's might be edging him right now.
And my penny is safe. It's still Evero.
Okay.
He's just ahead of Weaver. So the top 10 are Evero, Weaver, Hewitt, and then a bit of a drop off to Jesse Minter.
Okay.
Zach Orr is almost tied with Minter. Then you have Johnny Holland. Johnny Holland is at 6.
Right.
And I think I'm going to give Clayton some credit for Johnny Holland being so high, because he's the guy I've seen who's like hyping up Johnny Holland everywhere. And I think that Holland would not be as on people's minds if it weren't for Clayton. So good job putting the word out there.
I agree. I would not have thought of him at all.
I had him on my list before I saw Clayton was talking about him, but then I saw like, Clayton had like some tweet that had like hundreds and hundreds of likes about Johnny Holland. So I think he's doing a lot of proselytizing for Johnny. Wink Martindale is after Johnny. Then, if you can believe it,
I feel like I'm probably the only. I think I put Wink at like 0 or 1. I might be the lowest on him. I think of anybody.
Wait a minute, I missed a super chat. Where's the super chat? Here we go.
Boz.
Just
a replacement fund. You didn't even ask a question, Boz. If you have a question, you should drop it.
I feel like I still have to split this with you, but he did just say JJ. I'm going to split it though.
No.
Let me see here.
No, you're fine. It says JJ on there.
So we got 15, 7. I think
while he's doing this, right. Clayton said, "Thank you, sir," but me liking him means he won't be hired.
That's like me and Goody drafting. Like if I don't like a guy, Goody drafts him every single time.
Same.
Thankfully for my sake, though,
this year
it doesn't work in the reverse.
Gotcha.
Like if I like a guy, that doesn't mean Goody won't draft him. He's in the last couple of years, he's drafted a lot of guys that I really liked, but he also drafts like whoever I like. It started in 2020 because I had been like so disappointed with how I felt after the 2019 draft. Like looking back, like I like that draft, but at the time, like I was just so crushed because we didn't take who I wanted. So the next year in 2020, I told my wife the day of the draft, I said, I will be happy with literally anybody in the first round except for T. Higgins or Jordan Love. So we draft Jordan Love then spend the next 3.5 years listening to Packer fans say, "Oh, you should have taken T. Higgins instead." And I'm like, of course it's these two guys.
I had Pittman higher than that. I would have rather had Pittman
than Higgins.
Yeah, which Higgins has probably been better. But Goody, I think Goody would have liked the good, really good athlete, Senior Bowl participant player over the guy who didn't test super well at the position. But I was a big Pittman guy in that draft. I remember.
All right, I got that. I'm going to go back to the comments.
There you go.
All right, thank you, Boz, very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see. Drew says he's not interested in Holland. Oh, dang.
Oh, there we go. First off, it needs to be Aloe Fund. It's too late for the suntan lotion fund.
That's true.
It's too late, Boz. We have already passed the point of no return there. But
it didn't dawn on me that was a sunburn until just now. But when you first hopped on the camera before we started, I was thinking, wow, the lighting in his hotel room is really different from.
No,
that's funny.
It's really unfortunate. This happened last year too. I don't learn from mistakes like this apparently, and there's really simple ones. Like this is exactly what it was worse last year. It was way worse last year. Luckily, I had like a hat that I could just put over the side of my face for the afternoon practice. But then I got this for holding the hand up. So my hand is red now too. So
okay,
we're just having a great day.
One summer.
That's interesting that Drew would say that because my hair is definitely not red.
No, it's like a sort of a nut brown.
Some people have said my beard is red, but anyway.
One summer, the AC in my car went out, and I was driving all summer long for work. I was a delivery boy, and so the AC is out in my car. So I drove everywhere with my window down and my arm out the window, and I had a permanent burn on my left arm the whole summer. And the fall rolled around, and I had somebody come up to me and ask, like, do you have like what's that called, like vitiligo or whatever, where not vitiligo, what's when you have multicolored skin?
Yeah,
I think it is vitiligo, but they asked me, like, your arms are different colors. I'm like, yeah, it's the AC in my car.
It's just my arm out the window.
So tell me why you're anti Wink Martindale, because I've always really liked Wink's defense. Is it based on his defense, or is it based on him, the dude? Because I get the him, the dude part.
Yeah, it's purely off of like just a strange, awkward, tense exit in Baltimore, and the same thing in New York.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the guy is like, leave me alone, no consulting necessary, I'll run the defense. And to me, he just doesn't seem like somebody who wants to be collaborative in any effort at all. That's it. I have no problems with the defense. I think the defense is effective. It's clearly, it was clearly the only thing that was keeping the Giants in games. And then, like, it clearly succeeded in Baltimore for a while. So I have zero qualms with the defense. It's just, it seems like the personality just, I'm not sure it meshes with anybody. And I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
The next guy in our
we need to be on the same path. We need to be, together, moving the right direction, rather than like guys are going off doing their own thing, every week. I can't have that.
I feel like if it was gonna work somewhere, I think being in a place like Green Bay where Matt LaFleur would really like to be as offensive focused as he can be
possible.
Like, that's where it would work, is if Matt LaFleur was of the mindset, and I don't know that he is, but if he was of the mindset of, you're the head coach of the defense, you take care of that, just so I don't have to worry about that side of the ball.
Yeah, that is possible. And yeah, that makes perfect sense.
There's a lot of assumptions built in.
And I think like I think if like Wink came in and like it was successful for 2 years, maybe that's enough. Green Bay gets a title and then he has to exit after 3 because of a disagreement. Maybe people are fine with that.
I mean, that's kind of like the Jim Harbaugh model. Like, Jim is a great coach, and he wears out his welcome, I mean, real quick. The Niners got sick of him pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
And I know that Michigan really wanted to retain him.
Yeah.
By the time he did leave. But prior to that, those last 3 years,
right,
he had been wearing out his welcome.
There's no doubt. It was kind of like, all right, what are we doing here?
It's like
the same thing every year, like type of thing. Yeah. No,
like how many years of being less than elite can we put up with for your personality? And with the
that's a great question to ask the Chargers. That's a great Chargers question. Holy smokes.
Do you think it's going to work in LA with Jim?
Is Greg Roman really the OC? Is that confirmed?
I don't think so. I thought they hired somebody else.
Oh boy. Let's
see what Twitter says.
If he is the OC, we're in serious trouble here. we're in serious trouble here. We
I
want
don't.
Jim Harbaugh. To me, you have a great processing quarterback with all the arm talent on planet Earth, and you're like, you know what? Let's limit it. No, you don't need to do what the Ravens did for Lamar, holding back that offense, and you don't have Kaepernick playing quarterback. You don't need to do this, the Greg Roman thing. So if he's on board, if Greg Roman's hired as OC, I'm out. I'm 100% out.
I don't think that it's confirmed because there's still Washington accounts talking about Greg Roman.
Okay, that's good. I want so badly for the Chargers to not be in this pit of despair that they consistently find themselves in. Please do better at OC. Please.
I'm so torn because Justin Herbert has been one of my favorite quarterbacks since like his second year at Oregon. And I really want him to succeed. And I've always despised Jim Harbaugh, like since I first heard his name. So I'm so torn now on like what I want to happen in LA.
That's fair. Here's the thing: if you're very anti-Chiefs, it's a good place to root. It's a good place to root against the Chiefs. I'm not either personally, but it's so difficult because I want, like you, I want Herbert to be the guy. Yeah, that's fair.
I get why people have Chiefs fatigue, but I don't really have it. For me, it's kind of that the 2018 Super Bowl Patriots Rams. I had like I just had like a problem that year with Sean McVay and Jared Goff, and I couldn't stand them. They irritated me to no end, and I think part of it was that I was ticked that we had lost to them when I felt like we deserved to win that game. That was the J.K. Scott game. Many people call
Wasn't it the Montgomery game?
Well, many people call it the Montgomery game. I call it the J.K. Scott game because the only reason
we should be positive. We're calling it the Jair game from now on. We're staying positive.
But we lost that game. That's the thing.
But we're going to stay positive. We're going to say it was a Jair game.
But
Cooks
was that Super Bowl. My whole thing was like, dude, Brady already has 5 rings. Like, what do I care if he gets a 6th? I don't freaking care. But like, I don't want McVay and Goff to get one. It was mostly I just didn't respect Goff, and I didn't think that he deserved to be there. That's just how I felt that year.
Did you leak that Patriots comment Super Bowl week, JJ? Was that you? You said that, didn't you?
I plead the 5th and some others as well.
It was interesting because my dad and I were looking at this. The over-under in that game was like 53.5.
Oh yeah, and
disgusting over/under for that.
Wasn't the actual wasn't 16. The actual point total like 20?
16.
It was 16.
13-3. Disgusting. Oh,
jeez,
it's a tough one. Tough one for the Vegas folks to swallow there. So Drew says it's fun watching Jim Harbaugh lose because he's such a baby. The Super Bowl he lost, he was.
I agree that it's fun watching Jim Harbaugh lose. I haven't gotten to see that for a while, so I've not been able to enjoy that recently.
Oh, you know he's gonna be so livid the first time they lose the Chiefs. You know it.
He might
so livid. Clipboards flying, headset flying. How could you not call that? Oh, it's gonna be something.
What if he goes to LA? And because it's LA and he's got to be, like he wants to fit in LA, what if he finally ditches the khakis? Like, what if he actually gets some
This is a brand we have to uphold here. We have to uphold this. We can't lose all the traditions that are near and dear to the football world. We have to change. No, he's got to break them out. He can go. There are khaki, there are tan joggers that maybe he rolls out. You could kind of go that route, make them look like khakis, but they're actually not.
He's gonna get
like the LA flavor of them, perhaps.
Yeah, like skinny khakis.
Yeah, like maybe that's the LA flavor of them, and then that's the direction we can go with that.
It'll be skinny khakis by Under Armour.
That's fine. If you have to put an LA flavor on it, okay, but just don't ditch them entirely.
All right. Round out the last couple guys here.
Okay.
So to anybody who has not seen the poll that you're supposed to vote in here, you're not ranking them like I want this guy above this guy. You're going. It's you rate each candidate 0 to 10. So you can have two guys with the exact same score, which is why I think it's interesting that Bill Belichick is as low as he is. And I put a disclaimer at the beginning. I said, don't think about whether this guy is available or would come here, just how much you would like to hire him. And Bill Belichick is below Wink Martindale and Johnny Holland and Zach Orr. He comes in at number 8 with only a 5.86 rating out of 10. It's really surprising.
Trying to think. I don't think I put anyone lower than Wink. So, or no, that's not true. That's not true. There were a couple that I put 0 on.
I had Matt Patricia as a 0.
Yeah, that
Sean
was one
Desai.
that was. Yeah, Desai. For sure. Do not want. I got a defensive coordinator who got it taken from him mid-season and was like still labeled the defensive court. What are you even doing each week?
Sean Desai is not the lowest rated guy on the list.
Patricia should be the lowest.
Patricia is the lowest. Sean Desai is not the second or third lowest. There's two guys in between Matt Patricia and Sean Desai. Who do you think they are?
Wait, say them again.
There's two guys
below.
There's two guys in between Patricia and Desai. Desai is the 4th lowest rating on here.
Oh man. Trying to think who is all on this list now.
One of them is on TV.
Oh, Rex Ryan between. Yeah, I can buy that. I can buy that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Any guesses who the other guy down there is?
Jeez, I'm trying to think because I know I put some zeros out there, and I know Patricia was one of them. So I'm trying to think.
This is a guy that people like desperately wanted back when we hired Mike Pettin. I think that his reputation has taken a hit a number of different times, but I think that this is largely impacted because he had some guys on his defense that were viewed as like mega studs, and then he still had one of the worst defenses in the year for a bunch of years.
Oh man,
he had like the world's most elite defensive line on paper ever.
Is this a Schwartz tweet right here?
Jack Del Rio.
Schwartz. Oh,
I was surprised. He's at a 1.5 out of 10. I thought he'd be higher.
Del Rio, you thought he'd be higher?
I thought he'd be higher on people's
maybe
list.
It's just people are just kind of throwing him to 0 just because they're like not that interested, and they're just kind of like
Jack Del Rio
still doing stuff, which he obviously he has been. I'm
Jack
just
Del
wondering
Rio's
if there's a fatigue.
48th on this list, and Steven Belichick is 40th.
Okay, what are we doing? There it is. That's another one I put a 0 on was Steve Belichick for sure. That is you want to get mad about Joe Barry being hired again. Don't even get me started here. This is a joke.
Who would you gun to your head if you had to have
this is
Steven Belichick coordinating your defense or Brian Ferentz coordinating your offense?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I got to put up points. I can't take Ferentz. I got to be able to put up points. That would be a disgrace.
Right.
I don't want to have more punting yards than yards on offense. That would officially sink morale to an all-time low.
All right.
We can't be doing that.
Brian Ferentz or Matt Canada?
Well, this is an office. They're the same picture, right? Like this is the same thing. The Steelers are Iowa. Do not get it. They're the same.
Oh yeah.
Terrible offense. They have no clue what they're doing. Oh look, defense. Please save me. Please save me.
Pittsburgh is
when they don't
Iowa
save you,
without the nepotism.
Yeah, 100%. That is what it is. And now Arthur Smith's going there.
Could you
Sick.
have
Sick.
Do you see any light for the Arthur Smith Steelers offense?
What is Najee doing in that offense? Arthur Smith runs outside zone. That is not Najee's specialty. at all. Najee needs to be a power gap runner.
Najee is
What are
going to
we
have
doing?
a career half a season of quality NFL play.
I
The
feel
second
bad
half
for
of
Najee in this
2023,
scenario.
second half of 2023 is going to be the only quality NFL play of his career.
I feel bad because I was dogging him through 2 seasons. I'm like, we are on Trent Richardson territory here. You are a first round pick. He stepped it up. Love that. And now we are sending him to a fit. He can't do this. This is not his game. So unless Arthur Smith is going to Tyler Algier, Jalen Warren, basically to use a player as a verb, like if that's what we're doing, okay, cool. Like if Warren's your bell cow because you can run more, that's fine.
Warren is a better running back than Najee is.
For zone, absolutely. For gap, I think he's obviously a more explosive player, but like it's just. But this is what we thought. There were a lot who thought Tony Pollard could handle and I'm wondering if we're Tony Pollarding Jalen Warren a little bit, where it's like, oh yeah, let's give him 20, 25 a game, and then he's like kind of all or nothing, and it's like, ooh, this was. But I do agree, like the Jalen Warren offers you a little bit more. Well, especially this if Arthur Smith's going to take over. But like,
wouldn't Alexander Madison be a better fit for this than Tony Pollard though? Because like Pollard still got things done.
He did, but I would say he underperformed. There was a lot of negative runs for him this past year. So I don't know.
Help me.
I know we've gotten off track. That's what we do on Derailed. We're derailing ourselves.
I'm about to derail us even better.
Okay, sure.
Help me complete the worst NFL, just the worst football coaching staff of all time. Because
Patricia's got to be head coach, I think.
I was going to have Adam Gase as head coach.
Well, I was going to have Adam Gase as OC.
I was going to have Brian Ferentz as OC.
Has Ferentz? Do we count Ferentz because he's?
Well, that's why
in the NFL.
That's why I corrected myself and said football.
That's a good.
But
point.
Ferentz has NFL experience.
Oh well,
with the Patriots.
Oh, what a perfect spot for him! The place where you can prop people up. They won't know. They won't know how bad you are. Joe Judge, Patricia, potentially Steve Belichick, maybe even Gerard. I hope Gerard Mayo does good. I'm rooting for him to do well. But like,
I was gonna have
Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien's gonna be the GM. He'll be the GM.
That's bad. That's
Mo
bad.
Drayton is your special teams coordinator.
Has to be. Sure.
Okay, so who's your defensive coordinator? This is the vacancy.
Who's my defensive coordinator? Oh, man. I need something outdated. Something like, this would never work. Who just really stinks? Well, according to the poll, it must be Del Rio, I guess. Wait, hold on.
You could go Matt Patricia, but he's not. But like that's only just to like have him in the building.
Okay, so
because he's not like
you put Hugh Jackson as head coach then.
Hugh Jackson is the head coach.
You could put Hugh Jackson as head coach, and Patricia be your DC then.
And then Gase is your OC.
Because Hugh Jackson went 1-31, right? So we could do that.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson's probably worse than Adam Gase. The thing is, like, Gase was not the worst OC in the world. He was the worst head coach in the world.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, he's not a bad OC, I don't think. Like, Gase is better, like everything. Feels like. You might, because you can't put Gase as OC. Because sometimes he can do okay things.
Right.
You have to put Jackson or Gase as head coach if you're using them for this experiment. You have to find a DC because Patricia at DC, I guess, wasn't. No, he was bad at Philly. It was bad,
but he wasn't awful in New England,
right? But we can't put him under. We can Belichick and kind of be like, "Hey, buddy, we're doing great over here, aren't we?" Type of thing. Like, "Hey, nice coattails you got there, Bill. Can I ride those?"
But okay, is this not the weirdest career path in the world though? Patriots defensive coordinator, Lions head coach, Patriots offensive coordinator.
Oh, it's very strange.
How?
Look at Joe Judge's.
Yeah.
Is it special teams coordinator, head coach, offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator, or whatever they called him in New England?
Right.
And now you see the hesitancy with Steve Belichick. I can't believe he's 40th. Needs to be lower.
Okay.
What?
All right. Last couple guys here. Okay. We do have to talk about Denard Wilson because he comes in at number 9 with a 5.82, almost tied with Bill Belichick. So let's go back. We'll wrap up the show with this. So we have early on here, we had a comment way back when. I'm still looking for it. Somebody was asking the difference between the Ravens coaches.
Oh,
I can't remember who it was who said that.
I'm looking. How far back was it?
I feel bad that I can't remember who it was. Because we interviewed Zach Orr, or requested an interview with Zach Orr and Denard Wilson.
Once Tyler Dershel at 807. So they need a breakdown of why one of the Ravens dudes are better than the other. I think that's what you're talking about, right?
It is what I'm talking about, okay. And for some reason, mine doesn't go back that far. So,
oh boy,
sorry, Tyler. Jake can see it.
I see. All
right, so Tyler Dershel wants to know.
An hour ago.
An hour ago, he wanted to know. No, 2 hours ago. Oh no, we're different time zones. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
It was an hour ago. Okay, so Zach Orr, Denard Wilson, Chris Hewitt, Anthony Weaver, with a special focus on Orr and Wilson because those are the guys we've requested interviews with.
Yep.
What's the difference? I mean, the biggest difference that stands out right away is just that Zach Orr is by far the least experienced of those 4 guys. Weaver, Hewitt, and Wilson have 12 years of experience, and Orr has 7. So that's the biggest separator right there. Weaver, of course, is assistant head coach and defensive line coach. Actually, he doesn't have 12 years. He has 14 years.
Oh, wow.
I think that one of the interesting things to look at is the extra titles that are given to these guys. So Denard Wilson is just the defensive backs coach.
Okay.
Chris Hewitt is the pass game coordinator and secondary coach. So they both coach the same room. Chris Hewitt makes more money.
Okay.
So of those 2 guys, you'd think Chris Hewitt would be the one you'd want to hire.
You would think so because of the passing game coordinator title.
I mean, like Denard Wilson is basically the Luke Butkus to Chris Hewitt's Adam Stenovich.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Hewitt's working with everyone, right? And you have.
Well, but okay. Wilson is not the corners coach. He's the defensive backs coach. Like they're
right.
He's defensive backs and Hewitt is secondary.
Right.
So I guess when you have linebackers dropping into coverage.
Yeah, so maybe that's part like Patrick. I think him and Patrick Queen probably need to be on the same page a lot, right? Hewitt and Queen need to. So like Hewitt's basically taking like Denard Wilson's resume and he's like, hey, look at this Patrick Queen cat. He's pretty good this year, huh? Yeah. So but like the DB room, like in Baltimore, I know they have Humphrey and their safeties have played really well.
Yeah.
And like how much do you give credit to both of them for Hamilton's rise? Some probably, for sure. But I think if you asked, the average person on the street, like, how good do you think Kyle Hamilton would be? And when they see people ranking him as like a top 3 player in the draft, you're thinking, well, pretty good, right? And like, probably if you're a top 3 player in the draft class, you should be reaching these accolades in year 2. So that's part of it. But like the Geno Stone development has gone well. They obviously have Marcus Williams, who was really good in New Orleans and comes over. But I think the fact that like they have all these guys meshing well, they're running a defense where guys are passing each other off, right? If you've watched Michigan's defense a lot, they're doing similar things. So like communication is key. So having everybody be on the same page is important. I
It's
mean, I think
almost like
both of them are doing a phenomenal job, clearly, because they and whatever McDonald did and whatever both of them did in the second half of that Chiefs game, awesome stuff. 0 points, right? They kept them off the board. They did everything they possibly could for the Ravens to come back and win that game, and it didn't happen. So
it's almost like if we could hire some competent defensive backs coaches, then Joe Barry's defense would have worked.
it's very possible.
I mean, I just
It's very possible.
on paper, the Ryan Downard and Greg Williams hires made no sense. They made no sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the number one reason that Joe Barry's not here anymore is because the secondary couldn't communicate, couldn't pass guys off. And that's the only way his freaking defense works is if you have a lockdown secondary, because
Right. Yeah.
you can't be giving them help by staying in nickel all the time, having linebackers helping out in coverage all the time. You can't do that and still stop the run, and we could never stop the run.
Yeah. And so then I can't believe we're about to defend Joe Barry at this. But like you get to a point where if the secondary is not communicating, well, forget it. We got to bring more people. We're going to send pressure. We're going to be in single high. Right? We can't handle pass offs in zone. We don't know responsibilities in split field.
Right.
Well, shoot, we just better bring more pressure and hope they make a mistake then. And then you get into this, and that's where it comes from. That's where you get kind of shredded by the Buccaneers because they know what you're in. That's why you get shredded by the Panthers. They know what you're in. And they got back to the split field stuff, and it looked like finally everybody's on the same page. It's week 17. Like, this is sweet. Like, awesome. But yeah, I agree. Like, it's and part of it, of course, trading away Rasul Douglas stinks because that's a big part of why it was kind of working a little bit and why they're getting better play. You're betting better perimeter corner play, but
even when we had Jair and Stokes and Douglas all playing at the same time, you just never consistently had good communication between those three guys and with the safeties. Like the communication was never there. And I had plenty of gripes with Joe Barry and wanted him fired, but it wasn't for the scheme that he ran. The scheme itself is not flawed. It's the execution. It's the bizarre game planning and indefensible situational play calling.
Right.
Like, those are the problems I had with him. The scheme, I almost don't care what scheme we run, really. Because the scheme itself is not flawed. It's that you don't have apparently competent defensive backs coaches, or suddenly all five of your starting defensive backs became idiots overnight. It's one or the other. It's either they all became idiots, or when you hired these new coaches, they were the problem. It's one or the other.
Administrative stuff. Yeah. It's like we talked about already. It's part of being a defensive coordinator. You have to manage all this stuff, and you have to have the right guys that you can say, okay, this is what we need to work on this week. This is stuff. And if he's telling them what they need to work on and they're not getting it done, I mean, that part of that has to fall on the position of coaches for sure. And obviously the players, of course, for execution errors, but that's a big struggle. There wasn't any kind of we got to stir it up. Barry's got to get in there and be like, listen, this is not working. I don't know what you're doing in here. Something's got to change. Something's got to change with how you're coaching these guys. You got to change something up with how they're communicating. And then also on the flip side, it also feels like, maybe the Packers need to prioritize safety a little bit more. Safeties who can communicate a lot better, and get people in the right position. As much as the linebackers,
let's pick up some more street free agents, and
they have to okay, the safeties have to see a lot of the field. They see a lot of what's going on. To have somebody back there as a field general who can help corners out, be like, all right, hey, this guy's coming this way here. You got to take this and have that type of player. That's a big part of it too. And JJ, I know we've talked about it. We've been sitting here last three drafts going, hey, how about a safety? Right. Huh? Goody's like, no, I'm good. Which
year was Kirby Joseph and Lewis Seen? Was that 21 or 22?
It was 22.
Okay. That was the year you and I were losing our freaking minds. Yes. And not just us, everybody was.
Yeah.
losing our freaking minds. It's the greatest safety class we've seen in half a decade. And we know Adrian Amos is here for like maybe one more year.
Yeah, it felt like it was like, oh, we were sitting here talking about. I remember it. A lot of us were on the network. It's like, oh, Goody's a proactive guy. He likes to go out and get that third guy, ahead of time. It's like, okay, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Dax Hill?
I think
Is it going to be Brisker? Like, oh, I'm very excited. And then it's just like,
we've
no,
been basing that assumption off of the Rashawn Gary pick and the AJ Dillon
premium. And Dillon's not premium. And that was like the kind of like indicator to me of like, okay, well, Dillon's not a premium position. So to me, like, okay, he can do it with any position. And so why not safety, which I think is inherently, especially in a Barry scheme, is more important than running back to me. So like, I don't know. I didn't understand that. I think we were all on the same page there. It was kind of like, okay, well, no. Okay, fine.
Welcome to Green Bay. We run a safety-driven defense, and our safeties are all street free agents.
Can you just imagine if Green Bay was like, I know Goody was kind of like, yeah, we were trying to go up and get a receiver in 2022. I wanted Goody to say, hey, man, we were trying to go up and get Kyle Hamilton instead, right? Like that would have been a lot cooler. It's like, we're trying to go up to get Olave. No. Tell me you were trying to go get Hamilton, and I feel a little better.
That would have been cool. I know Clayton was a humongous Kyle Hamilton believer.
Here's my number one player in that draft. He's my number one player.
I liked Jalen Petrie and Kirby Joseph, and I liked Lewis Steen as well, but I think he was like my number 3 guy.
I think I was like Hill, then Petrie, then Steen. But Brisker was also someone I liked. But he was kind of in the same vein of like an Amos and a Savage. So it wasn't like it's like, oh, let's draft more guys who operate well in the box and robber. It's like, no, you gotta get a roof guy a little bit. Like that was kind of
all these guys are killing it too.
Oh, I know.
Kirby Joseph, Jalen Petrie. Lewis Steen is the only bust out of all these safeties. Dax Hill,
he'll
Kyle Hamilton. They're all hits except for Lewis Steen. And then we were like, nope. Nobody.
Yeah.
Literally nobody.
It was tough.
Have we drafted any safeties since then except for Anthony Johnson? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I think we went from Vernon Scott to Anthony Johnson.
Was Vernon Scott 2020?
He was 2021. Okay. No. 2020 sounds right.
But yeah, that's it. And that's 2 7th-round picks at a position where, like, if this is your defense, okay, hello. Hey, and this is the best part, like Ravens defense. What did the Ravens do so well? They had a safety and Kyle Hamilton moved everywhere, and they had Geno Stone, they had Williams. It's like that's a lot of resources committed to safety.
The Ravens always have good safeties.
Maybe it's time to kind of do that, perhaps.
Okay, so technically we sort of took a guy in Tariq Carpenter, but like that the day we drafted him, I think LaFleur was like, yeah, we kind of see him more as a linebacker.
Yeah. Immediate. Nope. Yeah, it does not count.
So
does not count.
Who did I say? Oh, crap. Who's the 2020 guy? We just
Vernon Scott.
Yeah.
Vernon Scott.
So Vernon Scott in 2020.
It's inexcusable, man.
And Anthony Johnson Jr. in 2023, both of them 7th-round picks. Like that, those are the only safeties we drafted since Darnell Savage.
And the best part about Anthony Johnson is he played boundary corner and slot corner a ton. He was like a full-time safety. Yeah. And it's like, oh, nice. We're not even drafting a safety. It's like a corner, basically. It's cool. Cool beans. Oh, man. If you can't tell, if the chat can't tell, JJ and I are going to be pining for a safety in this draft. It's not even going to happen. JJ and I are going to be here doing Derailed with Ryan after the draft, being like, man, I'm so grumpy. They didn't take a single one. What do they think this is?
We're going to go get another, 49ers former 5th-round safety. Bro. That's what we're going to do.
It's like, hey, let's retread to Sean Gibson, who's been on like 4 teams. Let's do that.
Please do not speak that into existence.
I'm sorry, but what are we? We have to assume that's what they're doing at this point. Adrian Amos is a free agent. He coming back?
No.
Micah Hyde's a free agent. 1-year deal.
And I don't think that
are they going to call if they sign Hyde and they're like, yeah, we're going to call it good. We're good. It's like, goodness sakes.
No, They'll draft a guy. They will.
I hope
They'll draft a guy.
JJ, I know. We know they're going. We think so. And then day 3 is going to roll around, and we're going to be sitting here on a Saturday, the 27th of April, going, I don't know what to say anymore. They haven't drafted one yet, and it's not a deep class. It's
All right. There have been a few years where it's like, and I love Goody. I really do. But there's been a few years where there is a position that he like stubbornly is refusing to draft that year. And it feels like it literally is only because he wants to like give a middle finger to the draft community. So like, what was the year where they drafted 0 wide receivers and everybody was like furious? Which year was that?
it's probably
20.
2020.
2020.
right?
Yeah. So 0 wide
You
receivers.
drafted a running back at 240 and a fullback in DeGuara and no receivers. What are you doing? It was great. I was one
And
of
like
those
the
people,
greatest like wide receiver class of all time. 0 safeties in the greatest safety class that we've seen in 15 years.
Is he gonna go? Is he gonna go 0 tackles in like this tackle class? That would be something.
He might. He very well might. The safety year 2021. That was also the year we thought he was going to draft a tight end, and he drafted 0 tight ends. But then it turned out that like none of them were really that good.
Yeah,
it was like
you talking about the Troutman year, or are you talking about
that was the Isaiah Likely year?
You talking about the McBride year then?
Yeah,
he was
22.
like the number 1 guy. Yeah, and like he's great second half of the year for Arizona. He's found in year 2, but like other than that, it's not been super ideal. I think Likely was in that one with him though too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was Likely.
Those 2 and
McBride,
Dulcich, I believe.
I don't think so.
No,
maybe.
I feel like Dulcich.
There's another guy with a really similar name to Trey McBride.
Oh, Trey McKitty. But while JJ looks it up, Drew is asking if any players are worth trading up for. I mean, I would trade up for Terry and Arnold and maybe Cooper DeJean. Maybe if they got to move 4 spots up ahead of Philly to take Quinyon Mitchell, I'm in as well. I just don't know if there's a player that's worth trading up for that they absolutely need other than those guys. Like, are you trading up for Brock Bowers? No, obviously not. Are you trading up for like a Malik Neighbors? No, even though that would be super fun.
You ready? You ready to take a trip down memory lane here?
Absolutely, I am.
This is bringing back so many memories here. So Trey McBride, Greg Dulcich, Jeremy Ruckert, Cade Otton, Jelani Woods. Remember that one?
Oh, yes. What many called Angry Moose.
Charlie Kohler. I was a big Charlie Kohler guy.
Okay.
Isaiah Likely, Jalen Weidermeyer.
Oh, lovely RAS card, Jalen Weidermeyer, if you have time to look that up.
It was like a .32.
Yeah, it started with a 0. Let's put it that way.
Jake Ferguson.
Ferguson's been good.
Daniel Bellinger. Chigozie Okonkwo.
Yeah.
Peyton Hendershot.
Oh, yeah.
Dalton Schultz. And Grant Calcaterra.
Dalton Schultz? Wait, what? Really? Dalton Schultz?
No. I don't know why he just
that
popped up here.
Right.
Freaking Google. He was 2018.
I was going to say. He was
it didn't sound right when I said
contract. Yeah, when you said that, I'm like,
freaking
Cowboys. I know the Cowboys drafted or either picked up Hendershot. I'm like, they didn't draft 3 tight ends.
Google wanted me to look like an idiot. I was doing the Ron Burgundy, just reading the teleprompter.
Yep, happens. Drew says sometimes I think when you have a really good deep class, it actually makes all the players look less good than they actually are. I'm trying to process what he's saying.
I'm looking to see who the lowest,
because I don't think 2023 tight end class has been as advertised to this point.
The 2023 tight end class?
Yeah.
It has been as advertised?
Yes. I think so.
Yes.
It's been good.
I mean, the only guy who hasn't lived up to expectations is Mike Mayer.
Yeah. But he was tight end 4, so
Yeah.
It's fine.
And he had that one cool game against the Packers.
He did. Yes.
All right. We should wrap it up and get out of here.
Yeah, probably.
Well, Jake, thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah.
To the people who are left, the viewers who are left in the chat, thank you so much. Thank you to Boz and Tyler Derschel for helping us keep the lights on. Really appreciate you. Any final words from you, Jake?
2 more days Senior Bowl coverage. If you want some tweets / video on that, at Jake NFL Draft is a good place to go. I'm going to be trying get out as many thoughts as I can and try to focus a little more on the potential Packers guys the next couple days. So if you're interested, I'll be there. Thinking maybe a live show on Thursday to kind of wrap up the practices and what we see them. So that's on the books right now. So if that's things you're interested in, just make sure you're tuned into all the Packernet stuff this week, because I think there's gonna be a lot of talk like this and DC to be hired. So you're gonna get a lot of analysis.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Go Pack, go.